this is a rematch. A fight, as Joe pointed out, has haunted Trey Telligman for quite some time. Rematch is on, and Larry Landless will be our referee.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's rock and roll. Let's go.
Here we go.
He's going to push the pace. And he has a lot of confidence in handling the counters of Pedro Rizzo. Does Trey Telligman, Joe.
And people who haven't noticed, if you've never seen Trey fight before, he's got a very unusual chest. He was in a car accident as a baby, and he does not have a right pectoral muscle, and his chest is kind of caved in. But that has not stopped him in his fighting career.
Now, never slowed him down. And he said this won't be slow tonight. He guarantees the fight of the night. Pedro trying to set up with the leg kicks. And the one thing Pedro wants to do this evening is be aggressive himself. For he to dictate the pace generally means success for Rizzo, and it looks like he's trying to do so early.
Good right hand. Good right hand by Rizzo. Trey Telligman's spending a lot of time boxing. He's had quite a few professional boxing bouts since his last fight with Pedro.
Oh, and there's a couple that connect there to Pedro Rizzo. See, Pedro's throwing that jab right away. See, he likes the counter, though. They are going to slug it out. Remember the last fight? It was like this, and Trey really got in on Pedro early. And they are happy to go.
Trey's landing with that right hand.
There's no feeling out process here, is there?
Well, you know what? The feeling out process happened in the first fight.
Great point.
You know, these guys know exactly how they're going to cut me. Pedro, nice
big right. And another right. And down he goes. But Rizzo's okay.
Good sprawl.
Yeah,
Pedro's a veteran. He can control himself when he's hurt. That's a guy who's been rocked many times before. He's very, very, very controlled.
And if you think about the career of Pedro Rizzo, we have seen him get rocked before and seen him continue quite impressively.
Well, he fought his entire fight with Kevin Randleman without any memory of it.
Mm-hmm.
He got rocked at one point in time in that fight, whether it was a clash of heads or whether it was a punch, he's not really sure, but he doesn't remember any of that fight.
And this is also a kickboxing veteran with a kickboxing record of 31-0-1, 30 knockouts, four-time Brazilian Muay Thai champion, so yeah, he's taken a few.
Pedro's very strong in the clinch here, and he's very strong with kicks and knees inside. You can see Trey Telligman's left leg is already starting to swell up and get red. Trey's much more of a boxer. Pedro's going to use all the tools. He's going to use those leg kicks, and that's going to add up. If this fight keeps going, those leg kicks are going to add up.
I remember UFC veteran Maurice Smith told me once, those leg kicks are like a baseball bat hitting your leg at about 80 miles an hour.
I remember the first time I ever sparred with a guy in leg kicks. The first time you feel it, you go, it's like a video game where all your power gets sucked out.
Well, Trey wants to keep those legs because he's got to keep moving. And it looks
nice
like,
body
goes
shot.
for the body shot.
Nice right hand again.
Pedro,
Pedro's
he got cut.
cut.
Pedro falls. He slips, but he still is able to go for the legs.
Sprawl.
Pedro is cut above the left eye.
Pedro has a lot of scar tissue.
Yeah, he does.
He cuts very easily. It's very unfortunate, but sometimes that stops fights. I mean, the guy's got an unbelievable heart, and he doesn't want to get a fight stopped because of a cut. He's willing to fight no matter how much blood there is, but unfortunately, you know, when a fight gets really bloody, they have to stop it.
Well, it was at UFC 20 when Trey had the absolute war that Joe and I have spoken of against Pedro Rizzo, and he lost by the knockout in 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Now, they are going to have doctors' attention given to Pedro Rizzo, but different tonight is, Joe, that they will not just stand the guys up, separate them, and go to neutral ground. The referees will put the fighters in the position where they were when the stoppage occurred because of the doctor's knees.
Which is an excellent rule, in my opinion, a perfect addition to the UFC rules that we have right now. Everybody's been clamoring for it, and when they posted it on the internet, everybody went crazy, all positive.
So if they would have been on the ground in that particular instance, they would have gone back. They were on their feet. Nobody had an advantage, so they start from the neutral position here.
It's a huge advantage for a striker. If a striker's on his back and he's getting pounded on, he cuts, and then the referee stands them back up.
There's a left. The cross caught the right ear of Pedro Rizzo. Telligman is confident in his hands, but Pedro with a good left-handed counter.
Trey keeps landing that right hand.
Trey really has tightened up his hands. You can see where the boxing has certainly been a factor to his striking ability.
Well, he was landing very well on Pedro in their first fight,
Yeah,
but he took it on short notice.
He also said that he pulled a quad muscle and that his leg kind of jammed on him early there, and then he never really had the step. And I was watching the tape of that fight before, Joe, and you could see where he should have regained his oxygen but never did.
I like how Trey is stepping in and throwing the left hook to the body. Now, that's something you don't see too much in MMA. Well, there's those leg kicks, though.
Is that what Pedro has to do right now, is utilize those leg kicks to keep Trey from feeling comfortable with jumping in with the hands?
Definitely, but he also has to worry about getting countered by the right hand. When he throws that right leg kick, that's when Trey's going to throw that right hand, a la Gan McGee. That's how Pedro got stopped. He got hit, he threw a leg kick, Gan hit him with a right hand and broke his nose.
Pedro trying to close the gap now. And the high knee by Pedro Rizzo. There's Muay Thai right there.
Absolutely. Pedro very strong in the clinch with the knees.
17th fight in the octagon or in mixed martial arts. 13th in the octagon for Pedro Rizzo. Little dirty boxing now by Trey Telligman. This is Randy Couture and Matt Lindland Greco-Roman-like in a very impressive first round.
Trey Telligman looking very confident, raises his arms as he goes back to his corner.
And Pedro being attended to by Leon Tabs.
Tá morto, cara. Você não tá soltando o jogo, soltou agora pouquinho, porra. Agora tá ficando baixa. Alerta, atenção.
Okay, here we see the right hands. Boom, on the button. And then another one.
And they're throwing tonight.
Nice left hook to the body right there. You see how he's stepping in, and you know Pedro's not used to that. You don't see that too often in MMA.
Leon Tabs continuing to work in the corner.
It just shows you the evolution of this sport. Guys are incorporating all the best moves of boxing, kickboxing, everything. That's the new thing. Throwing in left hooks to the body. It's another, you don't see that very often. But that's a common boxing technique, and it's being incorporated into MMA.
Now, how far has this sport come, the evolution? That man's gone to a sports psychologist to try to feel confident to use the abilities that he has, and he truly has them. And it seemed like Pedro was much more comfortable here in that first round than some other first rounds we've seen before, Joe, in engaging himself, not just waiting for the counter.
Well, you know what? Trey Telligman is the perfect guy for Pedro Rizzo to fight because he comes right at you. Trey Telligman likes to throw. He's going to come at you. There's not going to be too many times where these guys are standing there staring at each other.
One fight deal for Trey Telligman, so he wants to win impressively.
Yeah, that's all the UFC fighters that are coming in now. There's no more long-term contracts. These guys are getting one fight, and they have to be impressive.
Now that forces the guys to bring their best. There's a jab that connects.
You know what? It wouldn't matter if you gave Trey Telligman a 10-fight contract. He comes in to swing.
Yeah, we've always seen that.
Especially with Pedro. He really wants to win this fight.
Member of the Lions Den for a long time. Has been training more in the boxing world here as of late.
Especially Trey.
Yep. Paulie Ayala and Kirk Johnson, some of the guys he's been training with in Fort Worth, and you can see the hands have been outstanding.
Oh, but you know those leg kicks.
Oh yeah, that one made his knee wobble a bit.
Pedro Rizzo has devastating leg.
Oh my!
Spun him around.
Yeah, he did. And now Pedro feels it, and Pedro tries the combination.
Trey's got to tie up.
And Trey Telligman is cut. Good combination.
That's hard right there.
And the first takedown of the night.
Wow, I did not expect to see that.
Now, with all the time spent in the Lions Den, it is safe to say that Telligman is also comfortable with his ground game. And we've not really ever seen Pedro try to be a ground and pound guy because he's so devastating on the feet.
Yeah, that's a very curious choice by Pedro. Maybe Pedro is trying to expand his game as well, and he's been incorporating a lot of takedowns. We'll see. He's moving him up to the fence. Wow.
Now, this one has gone longer than the first one back at UFC 20. Trey said this will be the fight of the night.
Well, Pedro's a very proud guy, and I'm sure he's very aware of his criticism, and he's going to try to correct those problems. Like you said, he's going to a sports psychologist to get him more aggressive. And, just seeing him taking a guy down, it's showing that he's trying to incorporate some different strategies into his game. Now he's throwing elbows on the ground.
Oftentimes when we've seen Pedro in this position, it wasn't exactly this position because it was Randy Couture on top of him, and Pedro was on his backside trying to survive, but this is Pedro working from within the closed guard of Trey Telligman.
Trey's got to tie him up. He can't let Pedro throw like that. He's got to hold on to his head and control his head. He's got to keep Pedro from throwing punches on him. Pedro's a hard puncher. When you get grounded, pounded by a real striker like that, it's devastating. He can throw short little punches inside with very little room that can have a devastating effect.
Pedro.
Trey can't sit like that. He can't sit down like that. He's got to hold on to him. He's got to either wrap his arms around his waist or preferably control his head.
I think it's safe to say Pedro had a bit of a tough time recovering from that first Randy Couture loss. The disappointment there of losing the title shot, and then lost the rematch a little bit more decisively. Since you have seen a new Pedro Rizzo, and this is an element of Pedro Rizzo's game we have not seen prior.
No, absolutely. He's pressing him up against the fence, and you know what? Trey's getting bloody here. Trey's pushing him off. You can see Trey's left leg just really badly welted.
Trey just making sure that Pedro doesn't throw a shot at him.
Both of Trey's.
Yep, you can do that, but you can't kick a downed opponent. You can punch, as Pedro did there. And Trey able to get up, and he avoids the onslaught as he does.
His cheek's bad. His cheek's cut bad.
So does Pedro now smell blood? Trey trying to push the pace still. 1 minute, 8 seconds left in this second of 3 scheduled 5-minute rounds. Thomas and Mack Center on the campus of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And now they will attend to Trey Telligman.
I'm worried about those cheeks. Those are bad cuts. When Pedro dropped those elbows on him, that really opened it up.
Dr. Margaret Goodman. And they'll send him in the corner, so this will continue.
Here's that crazy leg kick. Oh, spun him around. That's power.
And then that left connected as well right after that. That might have been the left that actually cut him open, Joe.
I believe it was the elbows on the ground. I mean, it could have been that started, but the elbows on the ground really opened it up.
So Pedro in control here in round 2, and Trey was very impressive in round 1. There's those kicks. See, now he feels it. Yeah. And you can see, look at the left leg as you pointed out. The left leg of Trey Telligman.
Stop!
I knew when he said, I can't see it, but it said, Larry Lambert said it's a new cut. Oh, there's a lot of blood. Oh, I think they're going to stop it.
Yeah, Trey doesn't want it to be stopped, but Margaret Goodman, the doctor, says it's over. A doctor's stoppage, and Pedro Rizzo has returned to victory lane.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to cuts, Dr. Margaret Goodman has stopped to this contest at 4 minutes, 25 seconds of the second round. For the winner, Pedro Rizzo!
Tail of the tape brought to you